Yo, what's poppin', guys? You got your boy Nandra here. Welcome to another video. So as you can see from the page I'm on, I'm gonna be doing a set review for you guys today. So let me clarify something here. I had no idea I was gonna do this. I just kind of decided like spur of the moment. So we're gonna go ahead and do this. Additionally, I want you to know, like, all of these things are 100% my opinion. I haven't actually played anything of the set. I have no idea what's going on. So yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and start. I'm just gonna be doing it in a sort of expanded view, and I'll just probably do them all at once. So the first card we're gonna look at is Aria, Guiding Fairy. So she's a 4-mana 3/3 that evolves into a 4-mana 5/5. And her effect is Fanfare, put a Fairy Wisp into your hand. Now, if I remember correctly, a Fairy Wisp is a 0-mana 1/1 that has Fanfare. If you've played 2 or more cards this turn, banish this card. So primarily what you're going to use this card for is you're going to use this card to go ahead and develop onto the board, or potentially you're going to go ahead and hold them as 0 cost in order to enable certain combos. Now, the combos you can enable with this are a little bit stronger and unlimited, obviously, because unlimited will have Roach, whereas rotation will not have Roach. But there are still certain things, there's still certain powerful synergies they can have with it. Such as, for example, this actually synergizes kind of decently with the second legendary. Now, she does have a secondary effect. Enhanced 9, put fairies into your hand until you're, put fairies into your hand until it is full. And then, so obviously you can use that to grab up to 8 or 9 cards all at once, which is kind of cool. I have no idea why they added this enhance to it. I'm assuming at some point this is going to be relevant, but I do not see that part ever being relevant. But still, the card is very, very good at what it does. It's essentially like an EPM, except, a little bit better, because one of the issues with EPM is that you would run into issues where you only have 5 board spaces as force. And so you sometimes run into issues where if you're playing amulets, for example, if you're playing stuff like, say, Wood of Brambles, your board gets clogged, and that becomes very, very difficult for you, and you just run into an awkward time. But I think Aria will help you avoid that. The next card, Insect Lord. So the funny thing was that when we saw Insect Lord, a lot of people. So before we got the translation for Insect Lord, a lot of people thought it was going to be Roach, because it's a 2-mana 1/1. Last time we got 2-mana 1/1, it was Roach. And we all know how good Roach is. But for Insect Lord is a little bit different. So it's a 2-mana 1/1, obviously. Vampire, deal X damage to a random enemy follower. X equals the number of cards played this turn, including this card. So with this card, it's okay. So it's like a May, sort of, but it's like a May that can be charged and do more damage. Now, one of the issues with this card is that, one, it's not targeted, it's random. So you're gonna still run into some issues. However, on the flip side, it's still kind of ridiculous, actually. And that's essentially if you can set it up well, you can use this as basically a 2-mana as a 2-mana, I don't know, say it's a 2-mana maybe Dance of Death if you play enough cards. Although granted, obviously it does come into light that, okay, well, if you played that many cards, that's basically acting as a Dance of Death. How are you not winning this game instead? But it's still decent at what it does. I don't know exactly how or where it will see play. I just know that it's a little bit better than what people are giving it credit for. But as to how good it is, that remains to be seen. The next card is Fairy Driver. So for this one was funny again, because if you notice, this card looks a lot like Albert. He's basically a Fairy Albert, and that's kind of interesting, because a lot of people thought that because of that he was gonna be broken. Now, don't get me wrong, this card is actually very, very good. So it's Fanfare. Sorry, there's a 6-mana 4/5. Evolved and unevolved that has Rush. Now, Fanfare, give all other allied fallers +1/+0. Give all other allied fallers Rush if at least 2 other cards were played this turn. So basically, you can kind of use this for combos with say the Aria that I mentioned before. Now, I don't think they will use they will use the fairies that you get with it, because again, one of those fairies, if I remember correctly, if I read the text right, one of those fairies will in fact banish themselves, but you can kind of use this on, like, say, later turns, like on, like, say, turn 8 or something like that, in order to get like a full clear, or like a near full clear, which is still very, very powerful. Hell, even if you just play it for itself, you know, even if you just play it as like a 6-mana 4/5, it's still a 6-mana 4/5 that buffs your board by +1/+0, and then like it itself has rush, so you can like use it to make like tempo plays. If you've been like watching my videos, you know that like a playstyle that you should like to go for is that, okay, well, I make a board. If you for some reason like slip up on like clearing the board, I play some kind of payoff card, and then you just die. And this is one of those cards that kind of does that. So I actually like it quite a bit. I'm pretty sure if I do end up playing for this set, I will definitely be playing this card. The next card is Rayne, Elfsmith. So this one is a Forestcraft Gold. It's a 2-mana 2/2. Evolve. If you've played at least 3 cards this turn, give another allied follower +1/+0 and rush. That follower can't be damaged until the end of the turn. So this is a really cool card, but but I'm not sure exactly how much or where it will see play, because, right, so you not only have to play at least 3 cards, I'm pretty sure that this card is including itself, but you have to play at least 3 cards, they have to find something that you want to evolve, or sorry, they have to find something that you want to like give rush to, and then like it has to be able to clear. Now the effect is in fact strong, because when you get it off, it's going to feel amazing, but you have to wonder, okay, well, how exactly are you getting this off? I have no idea like what the answer to that question is, so I don't know how much play that this card will see. But it is a lot better than Andromeda, because Andromeda, like, she herself doesn't have protection, and granted this card doesn't have protection either, but Andromeda can only enable like crazy plays on boards in which you're already winning. But this guy, like, if you can actually get it off, like if you're behind, you can go ahead and you can like turn around and like make a win, or not really a win, but go ahead and make some kind of like crazy like swing card turn. Next card is Fairy Torrent. So it's a one mana spell, so you already know that's like pretty good. Return an ally, follower, or amulet to your hand. Restore X defense to your leader. X is the number of return cards. And then the hand survive. Return all allied followers and amulets instead. So this card's a bounce. However, as we've seen from bounces in the past in Force, like they usually do like different things. Like for example, Nature's Guidance draws your card. Airbound Barrage blows up. Airbound Barrage is like creature removal. But this card's a little bit different. This card's like healing. I don't know exactly how good that is, because again, Airbound Barrage does exist and is currently in the format, but this card is really nice, because like there are certain plays you can do in certain variations of Force that are like very annoying. Like for example, in PTB Force, if you go 7 mana Fairy Beast, I believe it's called, the 6 mana 4/4 that heals you based off number of cards in your hand. If you go Fairy Beast plus like Nature's Guidance, you usually kind of stall out and you usually kind of like win that game, because your opponent, like, you just heal for so much, it's like too much for your opponent to deal with. But if instead you went like Fairy Torrent instead, you just heal for like 8 or 9 plus HP in one go. Now granted, it is like a tempo loss, but like usually as Force, you usually don't really care about tempo loss. What you care about is being able to stall and then just being able to like kill people for roaches. Now that is speaking again from someone who's like playing like unlimited format, but for rotation format, I don't know how good this will be, because like just healing in and of itself isn't always that good. And if I had a choice between this card and Airbound Barrage, I would currently play Airbound Barrage, because Airbound Barrage, like, it's creature removal, and creature removal is usually a little bit better than just like raw healing. Crimsonbow Elf. Crimsonbow Elf is a 3 mana 2/3 Forest Crest Silver. Evolve, deal 2 damage to X random. Deal 2 damage to X random enemy followers. X equals the number of cards played this turn, including this card. Maximum 5 random enemy followers. So this card is one of those cards that I can like, that kind of scales with that of Aria, in that like on turn 5, something crazy I can do is you can go like 1-drop, 0. You can go 0 cost Fairy Wisp, 1-drop this girl, evolve this girl, and then she'll do 2 damage to top to 4 followers. That's kind of wild. That's actually like really cool. But while it is cool, again, I'm not sure how practical it is. Now this actually is a little bit more practical than some of the other combo piece cards that we've seen. Like, for example, it's a little bit more practical than the, well, I've actually forgotten the name of the card, but still a very, very good thing. Now, one thing that I did kind of like neglect, like for example with where is it? With Rayne, is that Rayne can actually scale with that of, say, Elf Song and Wood of Brambles. Like, those will actually help her get the effect off, and that does actually make it a little bit better now, because like it does mean that Force can now have like a swing card evo of some sort, although it's not as good as, say, the other one card swing card evos. But that's like Force in a nutshell. But yeah, like, so this one's also pretty good. I'm still, again, not really sure where you play it, but that's also largely because I don't really play Force like that. But this is definitely a card that I think is a little bit better than maybe, say, like my like initial thoughts on it. Instincts Unleashed. I'm sorry. It's a 3-mana Firesprite Grove. Give an ally follower +1/+0. Deal X damage to an enemy follower. X equals the attack of the strongest ally follower in play. This card only be played when both targets are in play. So this card is kind of cool. Okay, so it is kind of cool, but it's also kind of bad at the same time. Now, as you may know, if you play Dragon, there's actually a card like this in Dragon. This card is called Dragon's Cry. Dragon's Cry, literally same exact text. The only thing that you don't have is you don't have the +1/+0 buff, and that card doesn't really see play. Now, granted, in Firesprite you're able to get like a lot of creatures into play, but for the most part, if you have a big enough creature into play, that usually means I'm going to kill it, and if I don't kill it, it usually means I can't kill it, and at that point, this card is kind of win more. But we are losing things like, say, Dance of Death, and that's kind of big. But this is still probably a very, very hard card to use, and I don't imagine we'll see like that much constructive play. Now, it is really, really good in Take 2. Furious Elder Weedman. Alright, so this one is it's a 2-mana 2/1 that evolves into 4/3 Firesprite Silver. Fanfare, give +1/+0 to an ally Firesprite follower. So this card is kind of good. It's basically I believe it's a Palette Spencer. Palette Spencer is a card in Swordcraft, literally does the exact same thing, except this one can get more targets, and that's kind of cool. You'll probably play it in like the buff force that a lot of people have been like talking about. Like, I don't know exactly how good that Forcecraft deck will be, but I definitely think that if you are playing that, this card will probably see play in that deck. I'll also probably see play in Aggro Force as well, just because, like, again, Palette Spencer. Weald Philosopher. Alright, so this one's a 4-mana 3/3. I've also to a 5/5 Fanfare. Give ally follower +1/+0. Put two fairies into your hand. So this one's there's actually a card that's like similar to this, except that card has ward. And this one's pretty good. Now, will you play it? That remains to be seen. I don't think you will, or if you do, you will probably be playing it something that's not combo based, like, because again we have Sparkling Aria. Or sorry, we have Aria, Guiding Fair, I'm sorry. So, like, if you aren't playing something that's, like, combo-based, like, for example, if you're playing, like, say, I don't know, like Neutral Force or something like that, where you care more about the hand size, you'll probably play this instead of the Aria. But if you're playing something that's a little bit more combo-focused, you will, in fact, probably play the Aria over this. So, it's definitely, like, it's better than what it seems like, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at. Adept Archer. This one's a 3-mana 3/2, evolves into a 5/4. Whenever this follower's attack or defense is increased by a spell or effect, deal 1 damage to a random enemy follower. So, again, this is one of those cards for the whole, like, buff fairy archetype. I don't know how good this one will be. I think this one will like see like play initially, just because, you know, it is a 3-mana 3/2, so it has like almost premium stats. It would probably be slightly better if it was a 2/3 instead. But I don't know how much play we'll see after that, because like I can't see like this buff being like, or sorry, this like effect being like that relevant overall, just because it is like a random ping or whatever, and unless you can like proc it multiple times in the same turn, you're probably not killing anything. You're probably not killing anything with this effect, unless you're like versus like say an opposing like Forest deck or something like that. Leafman. 2 mana 2/2, Vaults in the 4/4, Fanfare enhance 5. Give all ally fallers +1/+0. Those fallers can't be damaged by spells and effects. These effects last until the end of your turn. So this is a combination of Blessed Fairy Dancer as well as I believe her name is Elf Girl Liza or something like that. Where, however, like, alright, so this card is a slightly, I guess, I don't know, it's a slightly like nerf version, because like in exchange for the roll compression that you get from this guy, and that he does the effects of both of those guys, you have to pay 5 mana to do this. And again, usually if you have 5 mana to do this, like, you're probably going to win anyway. But this guy helps you win in a much faster and faster fashion. And again, he has the roll compression. The roll compression is actually a little bit bigger than I'm like gonna give it credit for, because again, I don't really play Forest, but this is still pretty good. Especially because like both those cards I just mentioned, both of those cards are, I believe, rotating out. Now this card again will probably see play in both the buff Forest as well as aggro Forest. I don't think it will see play in any other version of Forest, but I could be wrong. I don't think I am though. Firesprite Grove, bronze, countdown 2. Last words: deal 1 damage to an enemy. Deal 1 damage to a random enemy follower. Deal 1 damage to a random enemy follower if this amulet is returned to your hand. At the end of your turn, put a fairy into your hand. So this guy's actually like really cool. He's basically like a little bit better version of a fairy circle, because this version actually like impacts the board. Additionally, this one is also nice because like if it's bounced or if it gets like removed from the board, you get the effect, and you can get the effect multiple times. Like if you can spam fairies, it makes things like say Leafman a lot better, just because like you'll always have a board, you'll always be able to contest the enemy's board, and you'll just be able to like mow them down with fairies. And of course we get to the fairy list, which is, like I said, Fanfare banishes follower if at least 2 other cards. Okay, alright, so basically with the Aria play that I mentioned before, you can go ahead and you can play out 1 fairy list, but you can't play out a second one, because if you play out the second one, I believe the second one will banish itself. So it makes the Aria like on evolve, it makes her a 6/6. That's kind of gross. Alright, so for next card, Swordcraft. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and talk about Arthur. I'll probably go ahead and cover up to sword, and then I'll go ahead and like stop. Like this probably be like a 3-part thing. Alright, so first one is Arthur, Night King. 7 mana, 2/6, legendary commander. Fanfare, randomly put different Swordcraft followers that cost 2 play points or less from your deck into play until your area is full. So basically this card is kind of like a Nep, or you can think of it like a Thane, or maybe even an Otohime. But basically it's a giant like board flood on like 7 mana that like it does a lot of different things. So the reason why it's like Nep is because you're directly pulling these guys from your deck. You're not creating them from thin air. No, you're actually pulling them from your deck. That part is actually very, very important, because it means that you're essentially quote unquote drawing cards, and that's always very, very good. Like one of the big things about Nep is that like generally when you get to Nep a board, it means that they've essentially drawn 4 cards that they didn't want to draw ordinarily, and just put them into play that your opponent has to deal with, because like if they leave any creatures up, you can do like a lot of gross things with it. Additionally, the other thing is that like these are all cards that again you didn't want to draw later, past like their expiration date, which again they're all 2-drops. If you draw a 2-drop on turn 8, you're gonna feel bad about yourself. But this guy like helps you avoid that. Additionally, the other thing is that there are a lot of really good 2-drop sword cards they can pull that makes this guy worth it. Right now, I know for a fact that like a lot of like the sword players I've been talking to, a lot of them think that like one of the optimal setups for things you can pull is to pull Perseus, Bladed Hedgehog, the Kahulin, aka Lancer, and then the 2-drop Chancellor guy, which we'll talk about in a bit. And that makes it for a lot of stats. It makes for actually stats comparable to that of Otohime. Otohime produces, I believe, a 9/14, or maybe it's an 8/14, something like that. And this, 7/14, and this guy produces a 9/14. So this guy's actually a little bit better than Otohime for 1 more mana. The other big thing is that this guy is a commander himself, and he also has a very, very large behind. So this means that all of your like commander needs a commander just to get like some like bonus effect cards will all be live, just because like this guy himself is kind of hard to kill, because like you're gonna want to kill all of the small dudes first, and that's kind of big because like at his HP pool he outlives most AoEs, and most times people are not going to want to AoE your board unless they can clear everything all at once, and this guy kind of prevents that. So he puts your opponent into like a bind. Like off the top of my head, when I was thinking about this, there's actually only one AoE in Unlimited that's not Bahamut that can clear this, and that's exactly Odile Black Swan. And even then, Odile Black Swan is only a full clear if you weren't playing Bladed Hedgehog, which again, if you've seen any of my recent videos, you know that if you're not playing Bladed Hedgehog, you're doing something wrong. And that makes this card very, very good in my opinion. Like, I definitely 100% plan to like play with this card, and it'll be one of the first things I like play with this set. Although there's a lot I want to play with this set, so it might take a while to get around to this. But yeah, great card, 5 out of 5. Darksaber Melissa. So Darksaber Melissa is a 6-mana, 6/4, has ward, also has can't be targeted by enemy followers. Sorry, by enemy spells and effects. So that means you can't hit it with DODs, can't hit it with 2 PPE removal spells. Yeah, you have to kill it in battle. And it's spam for a game -X -0. X equals the number of other allied followers in play, and gain +0 +Y, and Y equals the number of enemy followers in play. So basically, the weaker your board is, the better for her, and the stronger your board is, the better. Sorry, and the stronger your opponent's board is, the better for her. So I like this card for 2 reasons. One, because if you're ahead on board, you won't need to play her, and that means you can just win. And if you're behind on board, this girl helps you catch back up. So if you watch the video on my mid-sword deck list, you'll know that for me, the way I play mid-sword is I like to do it in a way in which I kind of like escalate threats. And this girl is going to be amazing at doing that, just because it's very, very difficult from like my testing I found for you to be able to my opponent to be able to answer like things like White Earth Swordsman and or Barbarossa into this girl, into Arthur. Like that's really, really difficult to answer. Like off the top of my head, like the only class I can maybe do with all of that is maybe say Dragon, and again you have to have very, very specific answers, and I can still answer all of your answers, so you're in a rough spot. So I definitely think that this card is going to be good. Now I don't think people are going to play her. The reason why I don't think people are going to play her is because a lot of people have been like memeing that, oh, well, she's just like a Dark Aurelia, Regal Saber. And again, that's not really, okay, that's sort of true, but not really true. But the card is definitely a lot better than she seems. One of the issues with Aurelia is that if your versus control and you play Aurelia is just a 2/6 and she does nothing and you just feel bad about yourself. Whereas Darksaber Melissa is always a 6/4 on base stats. Like, and again, like it's annoying for both control, mid range, and aggro for to deal with it. Like that's really, really good. It hits a lot of check marks all at once, and that's where you want to be at when you're like deciding where if you want to play a card or not. Especially when it's like higher up in mana cost. Confront Adversity. This is a Swordcraft Gold card. Summon a Shield Guardian and a Knight. Shield Guardian, if I remember correctly, is a 1/1 ward, and then the Knight is just a 1/1, and then also deal 1 damage to all enemy followers. So this card is actually a little bit better than people might give it credit for. So if you recall, I believe I've talked about this a few times, but one of the plays that I really, really hate, that I see people do all the time, is that they go on turn 3. Regardless of if they're going first or if they're going second, they always play Tempo Mars. It doesn't matter what I have on the board, they always play Tempo Mars. And for a while, I mean like quite some time actually, I've berated and lamented and complained and all like basically I've said in a lot of very, very big and like loud words how bad I think that play is, because like one of the check marks for making Mars a really good play is if you can either on the same turn or the following turn get 2 buffs, and then one of those buffs has to be ward in order to protect the Mars, so you can keep buffing creatures, and then the other one can just be whatever, but you want to get at least 2 buffs on the Mars. And I really hated the turn 3 Mars, the turn 3 Tempo Mars, because like you can't ever check off any of those boxes. Like the only way you can check off those boxes is if you had like say random Gelts in your deck and you had like a random 2-drop. That's really hard to do, and that's kind of why I like this card, because this card it lets you both extend it to the board. It also has like some slight AoE attached to it, which is kind of nice, because if you're versus force, that'll help out a lot. If you're versus blood, again, will help out quite a bit. Now, the versus blood thing, it'll help out more so in unlimited as opposed to rotation, but it's still something to be said. It also hits a checkbox that I wanted it to hit of it produces a ward and it produces a secondary other thing for the Mars to get buffed, or sorry, for the Mars to buff both of those things. So that makes it like pretty good. Now, it is one of those cards that I think a lot of people are kind of sleeping on, but then again, like a lot of people are sleeping on like a lot of sword cards this set, I feel like. Now, granted, when I say sleeping on in this case, I don't mean sleeping on it as like this card is gonna like revolutionize sword or anything like that. For me, that card is gonna be like Arthur, I think. But it's definitely like a slightly underrated card, and that's kind of a shame. Lancer of the Tempest. So this one is another big one. So it's a 3-mana, 3/2. It's a commander. It's a gold rush, and then fanfare enhanced 7. Whenever this follower attacks, deal 2 damage to all enemy followers. So essentially, if you play this on 7, you get like a giant like Breath of the Salamander effect. That's in exchange for a creature. To be honest with you, like this card is actually great. Now, it's great for a few reasons. One, it's both playable in its base form and it's great in its enhanced form. Generally, we get these 2 combinations of cards, you're gonna have a great time. Like for example, Grimnir was great in its base form as a 2/3, was also great as a 10-drop that deals support to everything your opponent controls, including their face. Rest in peace, nerf Grimnir. But yeah. So this card is gonna be like pretty good, just because like for the longest time people have been playing Blitzlancer, and Blitzlancer rotated. So if you want to play that, you will probably not be playing this. And again, it scales up, and that's good. It helps with the whole Arthur board state because again, most likely the Arthur board state, part of that board is going to stick. Like, and whatever part of that board sticks, you can go ahead and like play Lancer of the Tempest, go ahead and full clear anything they try to do that's not clearing that board, and then just like punish them and just like probably run away with the game. So definitely a very, very good card. We'll most likely see him play in both mid-range as well as control. I don't really know if any other version of the sword exists, except for I guess like aggro, but I don't think aggro will play this card. 2, Noble Chancellor. So this is actually the guy I was talking about earlier. So this one is a Swordcraft Gold. It's a 2-drop. It's a 2-drop 2/2 commander. Whenever you play a card, using its enhanced effect, recover 1 play point. So this one is good, not so much because of the effect, but because it's a commander. Again, if you have commanders, that's usually pretty good because it helps you turn on things that require commanders in your deck, and that's very, very good. Just because like as far as I know, like we don't really have like that many 2-drop commanders in Sword that are actually good outside of aggro, and this is one of those cards that's good outside of aggro. It's one of those things they can pull off Arthur, and then you suddenly just have like 2 commanders in play just chilling. Again, I don't know how much usage you're gonna get out of its effect because the enhanced thing, it's only relevant on like a handful of creatures. But as you get like more and more play points, it gets like more and more useful, I guess, in helping you be able to like double spell. Like for example, you can on like 9 mana or something like that, or maybe say 8 mana. You can go ahead and now you'll be able to go Geno for 6 into a 3-drop, and that's really, really powerful just because Geno for 6 is really, really good, and you want to get it when you can. And then being able to play an additional 3-drop as opposed to being able to play a 2-drop is, slightly better just because 3-drops have slightly more power on average. Now again, because you're only recovering 1 play point, it does make some of the plays kind of like anecdotal, like the example I just listed. But that's part of where like actual like play testing lies, in order to see like how good is this effect, or how often is this effect relevant for you to want to play it. Next card, Frontline Cavalier. So this is another really big one. So it's yet another commander, and this is actually very, very relevant because like Swordcraft doesn't really have that many. Well, it didn't have that many commanders, but now they got like a huge boon. This one is 4 mana, 3/4 that evolves into a 4/5. It's a silver. Whenever an allied officer follower comes into play, restore 1 defense to your leader. So that's already very, very good because it means that it's essentially a Carl. And then it's gonna be one of those things that like it's both useful without Evo and more useful with Evo as we see here, because when you evolve, you get to summon 2 Heavy Knights. Heavy Knights, if you don't know, I believe they're like 2 mana or 1 mana 1/2s, and they're also officers. So if you evolve this creature, you'll get to kill the creature, heal for 2, but in reality you'll actually heal for 7. because this creature itself has 5 HP. So go ahead and you'll clear a creature. They're gonna want to kill this. So when they kill it, you go ahead and they'll either use a removal spell, or they'll either use a removal spell, or they'll evolve a creature to do so. And that's good for you, because that means, again, you got to heal for 7, but in reality, you actually get to heal for even more, because you still have the 1/2s in play. The 1/2s can like help you make plays. Additionally, this is very, very nice because, again, it's a commander. All of these commanders secretly make going at the round table just better and better. And it helps you make some like interesting plays happen. Like, for example, a play they can actually do now is say Gawain on 4, evolve it, kill a creature, tag this, and also tag Mars, and then turn 5, go Mars into this, evolve this, bam. You suddenly have 4 creatures in play. All of them are actually very, very threatening for different reasons, and your opponent's gonna be hard pressed to kill all of them. You can then play Melissa after that if you want to, and then Arthur, boom, done. GG, no re. That's obviously a very, very just like God Hand scenario. Now, how God Hand it is pretty likely to actually happen to someone at some point, but it'll be very, very obnoxious when it does. Is the point I'm trying to say. But definitely a really, really great card. This will definitely probably permanently replace Floral Fencer and that of Swordcraft for probably the foreseeable future. Next card is Homebound Mercenary. This one is a 2-mana 2/2. It's a Swordcraft officer, silver. At the end of your turn, restore 1 defense to the Speller. So this, and then also Fanfare Enhanced 4, gain +1/+2. So this card's actually really, really cool. It's cool for 2 reasons. One, it's kind of like an Octo Bishop. Octo Bishop is from Tempest of the Gods. It's a 4-mana 3/4, evolves into a 5/6, and then at the end of every turn, it restores. At the end of each of your turns, it restores 3 defense to itself. So if you attack into like 3 or less creatures, it'll permanently be a 5/6 and just be a really annoying free opponent to deal with. And this card is kind of the same way. Now, this card is a little bit better in some aspects because it costs less mana to play initially, and being able to be like a modal card, being able to like be played on 2 or be played on 4 if you need to, is very, very good. Additionally, for this card, ordinarily, one of the issues that you sometimes have as like Sword is that you have issues dealing with like wide boards full of like 1/2s and whatnot. But this guy can help you like make trades into these 1-drops and be able to stay alive on curve. Now, how good it will be like later in the game is, again, it's gonna be anecdotal because you only get to heal for 1, and sometimes 1 is not, and sometimes 1 isn't enough, and sometimes 1 is too much. But definitely a really, really good card. I definitely think it will see play, just because, like, again, it's kind of annoying for certain decks to deal with. Like, for example, if Force doesn't have a Warded Bramble setup or like an Airbound Barrage, they're gonna have a difficult time dealing with this card initially. Like, it's gonna be able to like eat away their traction. The next card is Accolade. So this one is give an ally follower clash, draw a card, change that follower into a commander follower if they are also an officer follower. So this card is really, really cool. It's cool for a lot of reasons. One, it can turn your officers into commanders on the fly. Now there aren't really any like Commander Matters type decks in which like you care that much about like having like multiple commanders, but this is kind of actually relevant. Another nice thing is that like it makes certain cards that are like kind of cool like even more annoying. Like, for example, it makes Homebound Mercenary a little bit more annoying. It makes it so you have to kind of kill it even if you didn't want to. It also means that so the ideal usage on this card is gonna be to want to put it on as evasive a creature as possible. Like say, for example, you want to like put it on like say an Octo Bishop type creature, or you want to also try to put it on a creature that has a lot of like base HP. Like, for example, this isn't really a card that like use it on per se, but like a nice example of this card will be, a nice example of usage for this card would be to actually put it on, say, that of Hero of Antiquity, because Hero of Antiquity has like 8 or 10 HP or something gross like that. 10 HP, yeah, has 10 HP, and that like 10 HP is a lot to deal with. Like, and it's just like they're just swinging, drawing cards and whatnot. Like, your opponent's gonna feel bad about that just because like every time the creature that's buffed by this card swings into a creature and lives, you get a +2. You get a +2 because you get to draw a card and you get to take away a card that they have as well. So that can kind of add up pretty quickly. Again, I don't know what other creatures you would like to put this on, but definitely it would have to be something that's like evasive, and that's either evasive or has high HP, and ideally also has rush. So this way you can get like two triggers off of it if you need to. Castle Guardian. This one is 5 mana 3/6 that evolves into a 5/8, and it just has ward. So this one is basically a Goblin Mount Demon, but it also, well, yeah, it's essentially just a Goblin Mount Demon, but it's also an officer, which is kind of relevant at times. Now, will you play this card? I don't think you will, just because there are only like a handful of classes that can get away with like playing like vanilla cards, and generally that's usually just Dragon. And even then, like, Dragon doesn't really want to play vanillas either, so I don't know how much usage this will see. If you are in fact like playing controls or something like that, like, people might play it there, but I don't think you'll see play outside of that. But it's definitely a very, very nice card. Next card is Merchant, which is a Swordcraft Bronze Commander. It's a 3-mana 2/3, evolves into a 4/5. So this one is spans for a give +1/+0 to an allied officer follower, and then enhance 7, give +3/+2 instead. So this one is actually really cool. I like it a lot. I think you'll actually play it in maybe say both aggro sword as well as mid-range sword. The reason why is because it's like a Palace Spencer sort of that scales into being that of like a Gabriel. So again, Palace Spencer is just, you know, +1/+0 to an allied officer. But the Gabriel part is actually kind of important, because like Gabriel is a card that you would like to play in aggro, but you won't play because it costs 7 mana. But this girl, she gives you rule compression because she's modal. You can play her early, and then sometimes if you need that like little bit of extra gas in the late game, you can play her for 7, and boom, Bob's your uncle. There you go. You probably get a free win because like your opponent was not expecting that burst damage. A kind of interesting thing is that like I say it's interesting, but it's really just interesting to me, is that you can kind of like actually play this on 8 mana with a Quick Blader to just get like a 1 mana 4/3 with Storm. That's kind of cool. And it just helps with like small things like that. Like if you have a pre-existing board, it just makes any creature on that board potentially threatening if you can just like get the proc on it. Now, I definitely think that this card we'll see a little bit of play. Definitely more than some of the cards that I've like mentioned thus far. I don't know how people are gonna react to this card. Like not that it's bad. It's just one of those cards that's like okay. Like it's not bad. It's not awful. But definitely it's a little bit better than bad, I guess is where I'm going at. The next card is Assassination Jutsu. So before I even talk about this card, I just want to say rest in peace, Sandame Hokage. You the best. All right. So this card is an addition to like a seemingly sub archetype of sword, in which they make cards that look like ninjas, just because the Airco, if I remember correctly, is supposed to be like a ninja or something like that. Anyway, this card is a Swordcraft Bronze. Destroy an enemy follower with 5 defense or less. So I don't know how much play this card will see. The reason why is because 1, it costs 3 mana. 2, there's a similar card in Dragoncraft that costs 4 mana and does not see play. However, one thing that's kind of relevant is that this card has a destroy effect, whereas the Dragoncraft card that I'm talking about has if I remember correctly, has just a base damage effect. And sometimes destroy an enemy follower can be like really good, but sometimes it can be really bad. Like I don't think you'll see that much play, despite having very, very cool art, just because, again, generally in Swordcraft, you usually don't really use spells to do much of anything. You really just use creatures more so than anything else. So I definitely think it probably won't see play just based off that. The next card is WolfFang Swordsman. WolfFang Swordsman is a Swordcraft Bronze officer. It's a 1/1, evolves into a 3/3, and it spans for enhanced 3, gain Bane. So I don't think that this card will see any play. It's not really like, it's one of those cards that, like, is really, really good in draft. It's also really good if you're playing aggro, but ironically enough, the only reason why it's good in aggro is just because like it's a 1 mana 1/1, and aggro just loves the 1 mana 1/1s. Like, but yeah, I don't think you'll use it for any more than that, honestly. Alright, and that brings us to the end of the Swordcraft cards. So like I said, like this will be in a few different parts. The next one will be Runecraft. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like, go ahead and leave a like, hit the follow button if you haven't, and subscribe if you haven't. Thank you guys for watching.